All right. Hey, everyone. I'm here with Jay Thompson. Hey, Jay.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good.
Good. Now, Jay is a former brokerage owner, and you also worked with the Big Z for a few years.
Yep.
But I've read a lot of your articles in Inman, and if people don't subscribe to Inman, they definitely need to do that for sure. How long have you been writing for them?
I've written for them. It started long ago. I used to write an occasional article, but I've been a weekly columnist I've missed a few weeks, but I'm a weekly columnist for about 2.5 years. So
Nice.
I think the article that sparked our initial conversation was column number 132, if I remember. So quite some time.
That is a long time. So yeah, I want to talk about this article, and that's like the purpose for the video. So the article is called Feeling Introverted, 7 Tips for Dealing with People Again. And this is actually like, I'm an extrovert, and you mentioned in your article, you are introverted, but you have this extroverted side. And I
Yeah.
thought it was a lot of people are introverted, and I never really thought about that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at just the general population, the overall population, and it depends on whose data you want to believe, but roughly, basically 2/3. There's been a lot of studies that show that 2/3 of people out there don't really strongly identify as either an introvert or an extrovert. They're kind of in the
Okay.
middle,
Mhm.
which is typically called an ambivert. But there's those outlying chunks of people, and some people are super introverted,
Right.
like they have to crawl up in the fetal position and cry if they have to deal with any public stuff. And
Right.
then you've got the other extreme of the super extroverted that can just, work a room and it doesn't bother them. And they just feed off the people and the energy. And I think that there's a lot of realtors. There's 1.4 million of them. So they
Right.
probably follow that same basic pattern. Although I personally believe, and through my experience, it's shifted a little bit more for the agent population toward the extrovert side. I think there's probably
Well,
more
it's because of
extrovert.
the nature of the
It's
job,
the nature of sales. It
right?
really is. So
Mhm.
that makes it even tougher for the true introverts to assimilate and to survive in the real estate space.
Well, and even just with COVID and stuff going on the last year and a half, even if you weren't necessarily introverted before, you
Mhm.
kind of almost, I feel like, become one. And so jump starting yourself
Yep.
back out there, I thought like the article offered a lot of great tips. Will you, if the people didn't read it, well, if they want to read it, they can go to Inman. Or they can download it off of, I saved it on our vault, which is jennifermertland.com vault. But will you go through just a couple of the tips for us?
Sure, sure. We might be able to touch briefly on all of them. I don't want to take a
Okay.
lot of people's time,
Mhm.
but basically, and there's nothing, earth shattering. There's nothing in this article that's going to change your life, but it
Right.
does kind of help you cope. And
Yeah.
it's not really just for introverts. Like you said, we were all dragged into this
Right.
COVID mess and isolation, and that really changed. And it's kind of hard to unwind from that. Personally,
Exactly.
I hate to admit in public, but there were parts of the pandemic that I really enjoyed. And that's the introverted side of me.
Right.
Like, great, I've got all the perfect excuse not to have to do that
Exactly.
extroverted stuff. But it started off with understanding your limits. And by that, I mean, the deepest introverted person can take little bits of
Mhm.
extroversion.
Mhm.
So understand how much you can take and absorb before you basically lose your
Freak
mind.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
kind of leads to the second tip, and that was to take breaks.
Mhm.
When I both as a broker and as a selling agent and working for Zillow, I had to go to a lot of functions that had a lot of people,
Mhm.
not just parties, but
Right.
networking events.
But you had to be like on all the
It was
time.
really hard for me. I went to a lot of trade shows as a Zillow person, and I wasn't a salesperson for Zillow, but I had to work the
Yeah.
crowd at the trade booth, and it is freaking
Really?
exhausting.
See, I love working the trade booths
See,
and like the
and
church festivals. Like, I love it.
yeah, and I was good at it. I'm not ashamed to say that, but at the end of the day, I was just beat.
Exhausted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally, physically, mentally
Yeah.
done. But
Mhm.
taking breaks is super important. And the nice thing about being an introverted real estate agent is you have some built-in easy ways to take breaks. First, as a human being, and this I tell people this, and they're like, "Really? You we all have to go to the bathroom,
Right.
right? And you go to the bathroom alone.
Yeah.
At least I kind of hope you do.
Unless you're a girl, we go together.
That's true, and that's always been kind of weird, but that's a great excuse. You can be, if you just like, you're introverted and you're like, I got to get out of this situation. It's really easy to go, guys, I'm sorry, but man, I got to go to the bathroom.
Or as a realtor, you could be like, I got to take this call. I'll be right back.
That was my other tip in there, is you have your phone.
Yeah.
And there have been times, and again, this is probably not something I should publicly disclose, but I kind of already did. I grab my phone and I can fake a phone call with the best of them. Like, really? Are you kidding me? I'll tell you what, I got to go outside. It's noisy in here. So let me step outside and we'll continue this conversation.
Oh my God. You are too good at that, Jay.
It happens. Now that doesn't, someone's going to go, that faker, but it's just, and all you need sometimes is just 5 minutes. It's just to reset. Just, I can't tell you, I've several times I've gone in the bathroom, I shut the door and I'm just, splash a little cold water on the face, you can do it. And you kind of reset that tolerance.
I do that like when because I'm like excitable. And so like if somebody's like rubbing me the wrong way, or like I feel like I'm getting too excited, I'm gonna like overpromise something. I always I'm like, okay, now it's a break time. Like, give me a minute.
If I had, that's awesome. If I had to share one more tip, it's kind of, it makes sense if you think about it, but it's to practice, basically. Practice being an extrovert. And I don't want people to think I can't succeed if I'm an introvert. I have to be extroverted to be successful in real estate, because nothing could be further from the truth. Introverts and extroverts both have positive and negative tendencies. We're human beings, but there are times where you need to be a little more extroverted than maybe you're comfortable with. It's probably the same for extroverts. There are times where introversion, you need to separate and put the people aside and focus. And introverts are very good at focusing on tasks and getting them done. So taking or practicing, there's lots of ways you can practice. I know listing presentations freak a lot of introverts out. They're like, oh my gosh, I've got to speak to somebody, and I'm just practice it. Use your spouse. It's super helpful if you can practice those kind of things with non-real estate people, because if you practice it with other agents, then it's going to lead into your other things. But you just want to practice and feel comfortable. And another thing that I think really helps, and it may sound kind of weird, is volunteering, right? I do a lot. I've always done a lot of volunteering, and that kind of puts you into situations.
That's a really good idea.
I think so too. And I know it works, because it puts you into situations where you have to deal with people and do those extroverted things.
People, and you have to understand who they are and what they're about and what they want, like, instantly. You can't wait, and they don't tell you.
Absolutely. And it takes some pressure off of you, because it's not real estate income related activity. It's like, well, if I just totally screw this up, at least it's not going to damage my business and my income. But and it's also, you can kind of reset and go, look, I'm doing this volunteer work for a cause that I believe in. It's important to me, which makes it a little bit easier to slip into that introverted side. And from the pandemic perspective, working from home was probably the biggest positive thing that's ever happened in the introverted world. It made working from home socially acceptable. So if you have the option to do that, then do it. I mean, I would rather work from home all day long than go to office meetings and hang around the water cooler and have to make small talk with every agent that walks in. That's just makes my head explode.
I actually like it better as an extrovert too, because then like I only have to talk to the people that I like talking to.
Yeah. And one last tip, if I can, listen. Okay. And listening is really important. First of all, this is a kind of business where you better be listening to your clients. You need to understand what they know, what they don't know. They will appreciate if you're actively listening. You can, I feel like you are actively listening to me right now. You nod your head. And the beautiful thing about listening as an introvert means you don't have to talk, because nobody expects you to talk over somebody else. So and it's such an important skill to have for everybody, wherever you fall on introvert extrovert scale. You need to build and work on your listening skills. The best way to do that is also practicing. So really focusing any chance you can do to kind of steer away from having to maintain that small talk conversation or a
Right.
bunch
Oh,
of people around doing everything.
yeah.
Just stop, focus, and listen, and asking open-ended questions to people. So if
Exactly.
you're networking and, you know, a lot of common question is, what do you do for a living, right? That's just a good icebreaker in a networking situation. And the next question, a lot of people ask, do you like it? And the answer to that is typically yes or no.
Right.
That's not an open-ended question.
No.
Instead of saying, do you like what you do? You can say, tell me what you like about what you do,
Right.
which then sends the ball back over to the
Right.
other person, and they have to talk and explain. Then you listen while
Yes.
they're doing that. And that listening is almost as good a break as sneaking off to the bathroom or faking a phone call. It's just a
Especially
little
if you
break,
get somebody really wordy.
which happens a lot.
It does happen a lot. Awesome. I think these are really good tips. And I know you're right. It's not just introverted people, it's everyone is feeling kind of
Yep.
like okay, how do we do this again? Because it was so long.
It was very long, even for the introvert that loved or appreciated the isolation. It was a
Right.
long,
It
long,
was so
long
long.
time.
Yeah, so I'll put the link to the article so people can grab the other tips too. I'll
Yep.
put it in the notes. And then if they want to go on to inman.com, it's called Feeling Introverted, 7 Tips for Dealing with People Again. So they can find it by that, or they can find it by your name, Jay Thompson, too.
Yep. Search and
all
then
the articles.
you
Yeah,
can read all 132 columns. They're
I
brilliant.
love it. I love it. So what are you working on now?
I work on a lot of stuff. I retired about 3 years
I
ago.
can tell by your weekly column that you're retired.
That's what I do. That's one of the things I do is I write a weekly column for Inman. And like you said earlier, I think every real estate professional should subscribe to Inman. I get nothing if you do. And I know Inman gets some feedback that, you know, it's like any other media site. There are clickbait headlines and all kinds of stuff and the baggage that goes with being media. But it is a website that's chock full of really good information.
Good stuff.
So much. And of course, not everything written on Inman is going to apply to you, but there's all kinds of nuggets. And I think it's so important in this industry to learn about what is happening in the industry. And it's not really a news site, although, I mean, news is a big part of what Inman does. But then they also like this column on introversion and extroversion. And at first glance, you may think, well, I don't need that. I'm fine. But you never know what you can learn. And if you can read one column that takes you 10 minutes and get one little nugget of something to do that can improve your personal life or your business life, great. It's not expensive.
I think though, I like because it's a good way to connect with people. So like I read your articles. I mean, I really like this one. And like I reached out to you and here you are. And now I know you. And then also I've taken some of them if I do then my own video about it. Like, here's the article I read. Here's what I thought about it. Here's, you know, whatever. And that creates like really good content.
So now you have created content on your own, in your own space so yeah, use Inman for that. So I do that. Some of the consulting I've done has been what most people would consider probably a horrible experience, like consulting with MLSs and associations.
Oh, so boring.
But I do a lot of volunteering. Like I mentioned before, my current passion, actually it's not current, it's a long time passion, is real estate agent safety. So I became a member of the board of directors of the Beverly Carter Foundation about 3 years ago, I think now. Super passionate topic of mine. And I think it's really important. So, and I have nothing to sell. You know, I don't have a coaching business. I'm still an active or a licensed agent. I haven't sold a home in a long time. So you can't send me referrals. I can send you referrals. But I encourage every real estate professional listening to this to go to the beverlycarterfoundation.org and just read some of the material there. Even if you do nothing, it'd be super cool if you click the donate button, because as a nonprofit foundation, they're always hungry for money and they need money to do their mission, and their mission being making your job safer. But put that aside. I'm not begging for, I'm kind of begging for donations, but it's fine if you don't. Far more important than donating is going and reading some of the materials. They have checklists and tips for holding open houses safely, all kinds of stuff.
And we'll put the website in the notes too, so people.
Yeah, that would be great. So, and much like Inman, if you can go to beverlycarterfoundation.org and get one thing to do or change about your business, that might make you safer,
Yeah.
boy, that's
Maybe
well
we
worth
should do
the
a
time.
video on safety. Hey.
I'll help. I'm
Yay.
doing a webinar in a couple weeks on it, and like I said, it's a passion of mine. So yeah, we should.
How can they find out more information about the webinar?
The webinar that I'm doing.
Is it for agents?
It is for agents.
Yeah.
I should have that link.
You
Shoot,
can
and I
send
don't
it
have
to
it.
me and then I'll add it to the notes.
Perfect. I know it's July 14th. It's free.
Okay.
At 1 o'clock, but I can't. She's going to kill me. She's going to kill me if she hears me. And it's just blanked on my mind.
Okay.
Though. It's success agents. Something. I'll send it to you.
Just send it to me and I'll add it. Awesome.
But I'd be happy to do one of these in the future on safety, because safety is it's so important. There's no commission check worth your life or any ever.
And always, like, if you feel weird, there's like a reason, and do not go. Like,
that is the number one safety tip. And I know we've gone completely off the introversion and extroversion, but it's so important. The number one safety tip is trust your gut. Your instinct is really good. And if it doesn't feel right, it's not right.
100%.
So that's super important.
So if people do want to get a hold of you, they want more information, like whatever, what is the best way?
Best way, because I'm somewhat of an introvert, is to email me. That way I don't have to talk to you, at least not right up front. And my email address is the best one is jaythompson.home @gmail.com. That's my unbranded personal email address, the one I check by far the most often. You're welcome to have it. I'll be happy to answer any questions that people have about introversion, extroversion. What was it like to work at Zillow? If nobody cares, agent safety, whatever it may be. And if you're an association or an MLS or a big brokerage and want some consulting, we can talk, but I'll be honest. I am very selective and pick and choose what I want to do, because I don't have to do it for a living, which is a super wonderful place to be in. And I pick things that I'm passionate about, and importantly, that I have time for. I don't want to take a consulting gig that I can't give 110% to. So
exactly. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being on. Keep writing. I like your
articles, I will.
So
I have to write. Writing is everything. I mean, I literally have to do it or my head explodes.
Oh, wow.
And nobody wants to see that.
I have to do a video or my head explodes.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. Have a good one.
Well, thanks, Jennifer. I enjoyed it. It's been great.
It was fun. Bye.